Hi guys. I've been gone a long time, but I am back today to just make a video real quick for y'all. I wanted to go over a current date that I had. So this will be a story time. So, end up meeting this guy online, which is POF. I'm sure you guys probably heard of this site where you can like date or whatever, or find people like in your area. So I was talking to this dude on POF, and we had been talking maybe 3, 4 days. Um, and he wanted to meet up, and I'm like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. So I had a day that excuse me, a day that I had in mind, and it was a day that I was going to be off work, so it worked out perfectly for me. So he was like, okay, let's meet up. I'm like, all right, we can meet for tacos, which wasn't too far away from my house, maybe like about 5, 6, 7 minutes away. Um, okay, I'm like, we can meet at this Mexican joint. Then he was like, I really don't want to eat tacos. But I'm like, they have more stuff there than just tacos. So we end up making it. Well, I end up meeting him there. That's the second. I end up meeting him there, and when I pulled up, the place was closed, which was so weird because when I had looked online, it said that it was going to be open until like 9 o'clock, and at this point, it was only like I want to say about 5:30. So then, I pull up in the parking lot. He there, and I'm like, hey, I'm here, and he was like, yeah, I see you. So he was like, what you want to do? You want to just go somewhere else or what? And I was just like, well, yeah, I guess we can meet somewhere else. So I'm looking online or whatever. And he goes back to his car, and I'm like, where can I go? Like, so I'm looking or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's a coffee shop, maybe like 10 minutes away from here. So we can go there. So I tell him basically, like, hey, there's a coffee shop 10 minutes away from here. We can go there and just, you know, talk or whatever, and just hang out. He said, okay, sure. So I'm getting about to pull out. He's like, why are we taking both our cars when we can just leave a car here and I can ride with you or you can ride with me? And me being a person that I am, I don't like to drive. I hate driving. Like, it's just in my spirit, it just makes me nervous. So I tend to be that person like, oh, can you drive? But it's crazy. I need to get over that fear. I know, whatever. So I end up saying, all right, well, I'll just parked my car. I took a picture of his license plate. I took a picture of his car. When I took a picture of his license plate, I noticed that his tag was expired. It was like in the month of September, and at this point, we in December. So I'm like, but I didn't really think too much of it because I do know people that can't like afford to get like insurance or whatever, and they just had that expired tag. So I didn't really think too much of it. So then I sent that information off to my brother, and look, if you don't hear from me in like 20 minutes, then I'm with the killer. Call the police. Ooh, I got a message. So I end up getting in the car with them, and then he started rapping to me, which is cool, whatever. I'm not a big fan of rap, but I'll listen to it or whatever. I don't have no uh, hard feelings towards rap. I just don't like rap. I like Motown, like 90s R&B, pop, rock music, that kind of stuff. So he started rapping or whatever. He sounded good or whatever. I'm like, all right. I'm like, so this is where we going. So he started driving or whatever, but he's speeding. And I was like, hey, can you slow down a little bit? And I make sure my safety belt is on or whatever. He started driving. He was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. So he tried to slow down. And I'm like, okay, I'm just watching. But I'm holding my phone to show him, like, how to get to the coffee shop we was going to. And we was going to, like, a Big B. We ended up making it to the Big B. I get out the car. He opens the door for me. We walk in. I look at the menu. He's sitting next to me. And he's looking at the menu as well. He ordered his stuff and then he asked what I want. So I had ended up getting like some kind of hot chocolate situation. Then we stand out on the other end to pick up our coffee order. But the place is literally so small, it's not even funny. But we stand there and we're like conversating back and forth. And everything is fine, it's cool. Then we walk and we go sit down. We find a spot like in the coffee shop and we sit and we talk. And he goes and say, you know what? I have to tell you something. And I was like, yeah, what? He goes and say, oh, I just got out of prison 4 months ago. I say, what you was in jail for? What you was in prison for? He goes and say, oh, I broke in somebody's house. I had a gun. I was with some friends. My grandma had told on me. I was in there for that the first time. And then the second time he said he went to jail for selling drugs or something and running from the police and some kind of craziness. I'm like, why didn't you tell me all this before I had met up with you? He was like, well, I wanted to tell you, but I figured if I had told you that I just got out of prison that you wouldn't want to come on a date with me. I'm like, that's my decision to make. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just go and say, oh, I'm just going to tell her at the last minute. That's not fair to me. You know what I'm saying? So I was upset about it. I was. And I end up telling him to take me back to my car. So he opens the door. We walk to the car. He opens the door for me. I get in, and again he's speeding again. So I don't say nothing the first few minutes, and I was like, "Hey, can you please slow down?" And he was just like, "You just gotta drive to where you going." I was like, "Yeah, I understand that, but I don't like you speeding too fast. Like, it's making me nervous." So he slows down just a smidgen. And at this point, it's kind of like dark outside at this point. Next thing I know, I hear, and I see flashes. So I'm like, oh, shoot. He goes and say, so who they trying to pull over? I was like, they trying to pull you over. Don't you see? They behind you. So then he pulls up in this parking lot. And I'm like, dude, don't try no funny business. Keep your hand on the steering wheel. Don't try to reach for nothing. None of that. He was like, oh, man, I need a cigarette. Let me go. I was like, keep your hands on the steering wheel. He kept his hand on the steering wheel. The police come or whatever. That's like, you know, I pulled you over. And he was like, no. The cop was like, because you was speeding. And he was like, I noticed your tags is expired as well. I'm like, oh, shoot. So he's like, let me get your driver's license, your insurance, X, Y, and Z. He goes and give him all of that. The cop go back to the car. And he comes back. He said, why was you speeding like that? And he goes and say, because her mama was calling, telling her to get back home. And I'm trying to hurry up and rush to get her back home. I'm looking like, what? How you just gonna put that on me? Like, what you could have had told me you was gonna throw the lower on me. So that happened. But then the cop just gave him a ticket and said, okay, get all this stuff done. You got to have it done within 7 days. Here's a ticket and y'all free to go. So he drops me back off to my car and he asks for a hug. So I'm trying to give him a hug in the car. He's like, no, I want to get out and give you a hug. I'm like, all right. He gives me a hug. He said, please don't let this deter you from not calling me again. I'm like, oh, it ain't. So I end up getting in my car and I'm driving home, and next thing I know, I get a call from him, but I don't answer because at this point I need to process all that just went on, because I'm like, this is too much. And that's one of my worst dates in the history of ever. But I just had to come on here and make a little document of what had happened, because if I ever forget, I can come back to this video. But if anybody is watching this, like the video and share it. Until next time, bye.